Hey guys, off the back of our remote working theme today, we've had the amazing opportunity to sit down for 10 minutes with Freeda, the founder of social enterprise ECOPADS Australia. So in our vision to showcase those impacting on the tech community, we wanted to highlight that technology can also be applied to all businesses via remote connectivity. Just to provide a bit of a background on EcoPads Australia, it's a social enterprise that seeks to offer handmade, reusable menstrual pads to help cut back on the 2 billion disposable pads that enter landfill in Australia each year. So on top of this, women at home and women in developing countries make the pads, and for every one sold, a girl in a developing country is gifted one. So Freeda here was also announced a semi-finalist in the Queensland Young Achievers Award in the Environmental and Sustainability category. So to add to this, this is not even her full-time job. She's also a speech pathologist running Brisbane-based Seed to Sprout, providing holistic and individualized speech pathology support to children and families through remote services to regional communities. So Freeda, can you share with us what made you passionate about technology and why did you start EcoPads?
Sure. I guess those are two different things. But first of all, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess for speech pathology, that's kind of like a multifold sort of answer. So initially I worked as an ABA therapist, so an applied behavioural analysis therapist with autistic children for about 4 years. And then I started working with some speechies there. And that kind of opened my eyes to this world of speech pathology. And I immediately wanted to be part of it. And I think there's just something so beautiful and so special about being able to give and be part of that process to give somebody a voice or a way to communicate. And that's, we work with children that are age 0 all the way to death, basically. And it's so varied in terms of what we can do with speeches. Second part to your question, what made me passionate about EcoPads? So they're kind of very different things.
Definitely,
very different things. How I kind of got started with EcoPads is I actually started using cloth pads by making them myself after seeing my sister use them, which spiraled this massive process of researching into why people use cloth pads, period education, period poverty, and what's kind of happening in Australia and around the world. I guess one of the really stark things that really stood out for me was that in some developing countries, period stigmas are so much so where women are being banned to cowsheds and, girls are missing days, months of school, and eventually at a lot of points, girls are actually dropping out of school once they reach the age of monarchy, which is crazy. It's a crazy reality. The second thing is that the environmental impact that you were saying before, like just in Australia alone, we're using 2 billion menstrual products every single year. And that stays in landfill. The first pad that was ever used in terms of disposables is still in our world. So those are some of the areas that I'm really passionate about and what kind of drove me to, this keeps going out.
Okay.
Big ears.
Big earrings.
Big earrings, big ears, yeah. Those are some areas that I'm really passionate about and kind of what drove me to becoming a speech pathologist and then starting EcoPads as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really understand the quantum of, I guess, the impact of having sustainable pads and the impact on kind of menstrual cycles for women and remote communities. So I guess focusing once again on the element of remote working, wanted to understand, from both elements, how remote working has impacted on how you've operated, one as a speech pathologist and how your social enterprise has operated.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll start with my social enterprise. So in terms of EcoPads, we operate mainly online anyway, and a lot of our community partnerships are in different parts of the world. So predominantly our communication was already via Zoom. So in terms of EcoPads, it hasn't really changed all that much. The only thing I guess is like pivoting to online websites in terms of our stockists rather than, brick and mortar stores. Who, in fact, actually a lot of the brick and mortar stores have then pivoted onto online websites too. So everyone's kind of adapting and changing as we kind of need in this tech world. And in terms of my speech pathology type of work, actually in March, I made the decision to not leave Australia. So I was originally going to go to the UK to work as a speechy there. But then that completely changed my plans when the world went into lockdown, basically. And instead, I decided to start Seed to Sprout, like you mentioned earlier. And this is, I guess, a sort of different sort of model, but everyone's had to adapt in the way that we have. And that's from moving from face-to-face sort of therapeutic interventions to online therapies. So all of the therapies that I provide via Seed to Sprout is fully telepractice.
Okay. So do you think the ability for companies such as yours to work remotely should be a permanent change?
Look, I don't think it should be a permanent change. I don't think it's going to be a permanent change. But what I really hope that it does do in this time that has, really encouraged all of this change is that some of the change stays. So particularly in the speech pathology world and in like the allied health medical sort of world, we've seen that a lot of people who have disabilities and who are professionals in their right, they might be people who have disabilities who are occupational therapists or who are speech pathologists. They're actually now able to work as their specific occupations because telepractice is seen as, an okay thing now. And I guess before, a lot of the time they were told, you can't do this, or they weren't given jobs because of their disabilities. So I think it's really opened this beautiful door to allowing our disability sector to actually provide intervention, but that's really specific to allied health. But there are so many other doors that have been opened for people in our disability sector, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So given the success of both your enterprises, I wanted to get some words of advice from you to other women who want to start their own social enterprise or business and are afraid to take the next step.
Okay. I think if I were to turn back time to the very start and had words for myself, it would really be to do as much research as possible and connect in with as many people as possible. More recently, I've really found my tribe, is what I really like to call it, and sticking with people that have really similar energies. Like I guard my energy like no other. I think it's really important to recognize what sort of energy it is that you align with, and stick with that. And I guess people finding the right people that will walk alongside you and support you and help you through the process too. But I think if I really had one thing to say to myself is just go for it.
Absolutely.
Just go for it. Just start somewhere. Like if you literally have 1,000 things on your mind, start with one thing or two things a day that you can tick off and say, okay, I've accomplished something for today and I'm moving a step towards the right direction of what I want to do.
Yeah, so going back to, I guess, how we can support you. So what are some of the things that we can do as a community to support ECOPADS Australia in particular, and some of the actions that we can take to support your cause?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess there's a couple of different things that different people who, when they first see EcoPads, they really want to be able to do. And in terms of support, there are so many different ways that you can support. If you're really just wanting to see in terms of what impact we're making, where we're at, learn a little bit more about cloth pads, we would love for you guys to connect in with us. So that's either via our website, our Instagram, Facebook, all the different socials that are there. We've got Tumblr and Twitter. We don't have TikTok, we don't have those sort of things, but we would love for you guys to connect with us. If you are looking at trying some cloth pads or face wipes, or really looking into I guess more sustainable approaches to menstrual management, or you can head straight to our shop. And we currently have a promotion at the moment. So if anyone is interested, we're really encouraging people to stay home. So if you use code stay at home, capital letters on checkout, you will get free shipping.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Freeda, for your time. Guys, please support EcoPads by checking out their website. Second of all, buying a pad through them and using their promotion code in this time. So we also want to challenge entrepreneurs out there to think about how they can make remote working work for all of them and to make one of a permanent change that impacts the community in a good way. Thank you so much, Freeda. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.